It's section A, question 2 carrying 10 marks. Complete the following sentences with a reason for each. Here, I'm going to focus on the short story To Build a Fire by Jack London. This is video number 1, part 1. Let's begin. Question 1. In To Build a Fire, the man did not worry about the intangible pall over the face of things and the subtle gloom that made the day dark, because you will have to complete this question. You will have to complete this sentence. Read the text thoroughly. This incomplete sentence is taken from the very first paragraph of To Build a Fire. Let us now write a specific, to the point, brief reason. Just one reason. Keep this in mind. Providing a reason for each. This is your question. So what will be the answer? He was used to the lack of sun. He was used to the absence of sun, and it had been days since he had seen the sun. Although you will have to write brief reasons, the key words and expressions must be there in your answer. And in this case, what is the key word or expression? Absence of sun. This expression has to be there if you want to fetch good marks. The mysterious, far-reaching hairline trail, the absence of sun from the sky, the tremendous cold, and the strangeness and weirdest of it all made no impression on the man because, again, just one reason, a specific crisp reason. In your own words, or you may write from the book also. Because he was a newcomer in the land, a Checaquo, and this was his first winter. All the spellings must be correct and grammatically your sentences must be correct. Keep these things in mind. I hope you have understood answer number 2. It's on the screen, just read it and you will understand how to write such answers. Question 3 very quickly. 50 degrees below zero was to the man just precisely 50 degrees below zero because he lacked imagination and was unable to understand what it signified. This is the reason. The trouble with him was that he was without imagination. He was quick and alert in the things of life, but only in the things and not in the significances. I have used this sentence as my reference point and I have written this answer in my own words. He lacked imagination and was unable to understand or comprehend what it signified. So 50 degrees below zero was to the man just precisely 50 degrees. Scientific knowledge. He did not have instinctual knowledge. So this is one of the themes of To Build a Fire. Question 4 now. My dear students, we have multiple choice questions, worksheets for you as well as easy explanation videos for you to build a fire. So kindly check the playlist or the pinned comment for the necessary links. I'll provide them to you. Question 4. Although the boys had come over across the divide from the Indian Creek country, the man had come the roundabout way because. What was his reason? Because he wanted to take a look at the possibilities of getting out logs in the spring from the islands in the Yukon. This was his reason for coming roundabout way, for taking the roundabout way. 5. The dog trotting at the man's heel was depressed because the big native husky dog trotting at the man's heel was depressed because you may write of the tremendous cold, finished, or you can just elaborate a little, because the condition outside was bitterly harsh due to the tremendous cold. The key expression here is tremendous cold. That has to be there. And after that, you may frame your own reason in your own words. Question 6. The man rubbed his nose and cheekbones with his mittened hand because it certainly was cold and the hair on his face did not protect the high cheekbones and his nose exposed to the bitter cold and frosty air. Because it certainly was cold and the hair on his face did not protect the high cheekbones and his nose exposed to the bitter cold and frosty air. Frosty must be there, cold must be there, did not protect the parts, certain parts of his body. All these things must be there in order to write a compact reason. Question 7 now. The brute, that is the dog, experienced a vague but menacing apprehension that subdued it because. What is the reason? Let's read it. Because it had its instinct, very important, instinct. The word instinct is the most important key word here. Because it had its instinct and was apprehensive of the needless decision to be out in such tremendous cold. Instinct, needless decision, tremendous cold. Finished. The dog questioned eagerly every unwanted movement of the man because the animal's intuition made it expect that the man would go into the camp or seek shelter somewhere and build a fire. So he was eagerly questioning every unwanted movement. He was hopeful that the man would make a right choice. He would look for a shelter, go into a camp or build a fire. Question 9. A crystal beard of the color and solidity of amber was increasing its length on the chin of the man because the muzzle of ice held his lips so rigidly that he was unable to clear his chin when he expelled the juice, the tobacco juice. The muzzle of ice held his lips rigidly, very important, and he was unable to clear his chin when he expelled the juice. And therefore, the beard was increasing its length on the chin and the color was amber. Question 10. The man did not mind the appendage of the amber-colored crystal beard because it was the penalty all tobacco chewers paid in that country. Again, very important, give a tick if you are thinking about this. It was the penalty all tobacco chewers paid in that country, and he had been out before in 2 cold snaps. So he knew that this thing was quite normal. Question 11. The man continued monotonously to chew tobacco and to increase the length of his amber beard because he had nothing else to do. Because the ice crystallized around his mouth and made speech impossible. Because the ice crystallized around his mouth and made speech impossible. This is one reason, or you may also write, there was nobody to talk to, and had there been, speech would have been impossible because of the ice muzzle on his mouth. I've taken this from the text directly, and the previous reason was framed by me in my own words. The man noticed the changes in the creek, the curves and bends and timber jams, and always he noted where he placed his feet because he was not only keenly observant but also knew the creek was frozen to the bottom and concealed dangerous springs. He was not only keenly observant, very, very important, and knew, and his knowledge, and what did he know? The creek was frozen to the bottom and concealed dangerous springs, the traps. The man had shied away in panic because he was aware of the dangerous springs and felt the give under his feet and heard the crackle of snow-hidden ice skin. This is answer number 13. Question 14 now. The man did not want to get his feet wet because getting his feet wet in the tremendous Arctic winter would mean number 1, trouble, number 2, danger, and number 3, delay. This is answer number 14 in my own words. Take help from the text, from the textual references, and try to shorten them by writing compact reasons. Question 15. Getting his feet wet would lead to the delay of the man because. Why? Because he would be forced to stop and build a fire to bare his feet while he dried his socks and moccasins. He would be forced to stop and build a fire. Building a fire is important. Why? To dry his socks and moccasins. 16 now. On one occasion, the man compelled the dog to go on in front because. Why? Because he had suspected danger and was sure that there was the trap of hidden pool having a sunken area. He did not want to take the risk. Question 17 now. The dog made quick efforts to lick the ice off its legs and began to bite out the ice that had formed between the toes because. Whenever you get such sentences, identify the tense, whether the sentence is in past tense, present tense, future tense, and then frame your answers accordingly. The dog made quick efforts. Past tense, it's in past tense. Therefore, I'll try to write the answer also in the same tense. Do not mix the tenses. The dog made quick efforts to lick the ice off its legs and began to bite out the ice that had formed between the toes because this was a matter of the dog's instinct. Matter of dog's instinct. Very important. This expression again has to be there in your answer. Question 18. The dog took satisfaction in the roaring fire because. Why? Because of the warmth of the fire, due to which the cold of space was outwitted. He took satisfaction in the roaring fire because of the warmth of the fire, due to which the cold of space was outwitted. You may also frame the answer in this way because it was tremendously cold outside and the fire was providing it with warmth and comfort. Both reasons are the same. Warmth of the fire must be there in your answer and tremendously cold or the cold of the space was outwitted. Frame your answers in your own way. I am sure every one of you must have a signature style of writing, and English literature is subjective, so be flexible in your approach, adjust your style and write your answers. Question 19, come on quickly. The man tried to take a mouthful but could not eat because the ice muzzle prevented and he had forgotten to build a fire and thaw out. Here there are 3 important points. Ice muzzle prevented, number 1. Number 2, he had forgotten to build a fire. And number 3, thaw out. All 3 points must be there in a single reason. The dog was disappointed and yearned back toward the fire because he is attached to the warm fire, showing that his instinctual knowledge is more effective in this situation than the man's scientific knowledge. His attachment to the warm fire, his attachment to the warmth of the fire, this is significant, and here you will have to mention about his instinctual knowledge as well. And therefore, he yearned back toward the fire, and the man decided to move on. His scientific knowledge. So there is a conflict between instinctual knowledge of the animal and the scientific knowledge of the man who lacked imagination. Read, learn these points because these points are important for writing any answer on Jack London's To Build a Fire. Question 21. The dog was not concerned in the welfare of the man because there was no keen intimacy between the dog and the man. The man was his fire provider, and to the man, this dog was his toil slave. No intimacy between the two. The dog did not even try to warn the man or communicate his apprehensions to the man. 22. The man was angry and cursed his luck because. What is the reason? Because suddenly the ice broke and he fell through into a shallow pool, wet himself halfway to the knees, resulting in an hour's delay. Hour's delay, very important. Wet himself, again important, and he broke through and fell into a shallow pool. After this, question 22 finished. Let's move on to question 23. The man threw down several larger portions of seasoned branches and fine dry last year's grasses on top of the snow because it would serve as a foundation. Foundation, give a tick, very important. It would serve as a foundation and prevented the young flame from drowning in the snow it otherwise would melt. So, it would provide a foundation and prevent the young flame from drowning. Question 24. It was imperative to build a fire and dry out his footgear because he fell through the broken ice into a shallow hidden pool, wetting himself halfway to the knees. His footgear was wet. And if he did not dry the footgear, he would fall sick because it was Arctic winter. It was tremendously cold, extremely cold out there, the harsh climatic conditions. Question 25. The man removed the mitten from his right hand and helped tear out the ice particles from the dog's legs and toes because the man's scientific knowledge that to permit the ice to remain would mean sore feet made him help the dog. Scientific knowledge, important. Permit the ice to remain, sore feet, again important, made him help the dog. My dear students, this is the end of part 1. In part 2, I'll try to discuss 25 more such important questions.